Hello, I'm Talia and welcome to Clover's Corner. It's been a while. You might not recognize this setup since I've only done it once. It's slightly different to last time, but that's what it looks like now. This is kind of the setup. The camera's the proper way, whereas on the podcast it's kind of like, when I do it live, it's inverted, if that makes sense. If you haven't caught up with me recently, speaking of live, I've started up my Twitch channel, so you can follow me down below here and check me out whenever you want, because if you haven't been following me anywhere else, it probably looks very strange that my channel's pretty deserted. Do not worry, I haven't abandoned you. It's all good. So, I've got a little list here, because the theme today is all about love, which sounds probably a bit weird for a pop culture centered podcast, but trust me, there's a rhyme and reason to it. So about 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks ago, it was Valentine's Day, and then a week after that I went to a wedding, so this idea has been on my mind for a minute. So I wanted to talk about my relationship love experience and how it began for me and where I am now, because I've seen so many people online being like, I've never been in a relationship and I'm X amount of years old, or they've been in many relationships at a young age, and it's very different for every person, so I just wanted to give my 2 cents on it. So, just like most people, I think the first time you have any type of feeling like that, whether it's love, romantic, or even anything, starts with a crush, usually a celebrity crush. And I vividly remember mine because it's one of my favourite movies of all time, but it's Peter Pan with Jeremy Sumpter. I thought Jeremy Sumpter was so cute, and I would lie perfectly still like this in my bed with my hair done perfectly, hoping that he would come through the window and rescue me. So, yeah, that didn't happen, but it was worth the shot. But that was my only real crush I can think of, besides, when it comes to celebrities. Besides that, though, I did have a real life crush, and it was my first experience of unrequited love, even though when you're a child it's not really love. But for my entire primary school experience, so that would be 7 years old to 13, I had a crush on the same person. There were other crushes in between, but I had a crush on the same person. Never told him, and I didn't because I knew he had a crush on my friend, and she wasn't interested in him. So that was kind of the start of it. I just thought he was so interesting and different, and he never gave me the time of day, which is fine, because we're kids, but that's how it felt at the time. So that was maybe my only experience with love or crushes or anything like that until I was about 12 years old, 13 years old, and I suddenly went through this, self-mental crisis, if you can call it that. I didn't know who I was. No one does when they're 12, but this has been, a recurring theme in my life, I guess. And I realized that I think I like girls, and so I kind of just self-prescribed that I was gay, because as a teenager in, 2010? 2011? Bisexual was an attention-seeking label, apparently. No one actually was bi. It was either you were gay or straight, and if you said bi, it was because you were too afraid to come out. That was my experience anyway. As of now, I'm kind of just I like everyone and anyone, and it's fine. But back then it was very, you have to pick one side or the other. And so I kind of felt like an outsider already on top of all that. So I was I'll just date girls instead, because there's no one else in this, dating pool for me. So I was just that's fine, whatever. So it started off with dating girls, interested, kissing girls and stuff like that. And then I was maybe I'm not even a girl. That was a real thought that had crossed my mind for a good portion of my teenage years and childhood. And that kind of affected a lot of things. But by the time I was 13 or 14, this should have been maybe the first sign that I had any type of mood or personality disorder, but I'm very, I don't know what the term it actually is, but it's basically idol worship, but for anyone. So the second you like someone or you're interested in anything someone has to say, you're kind of obsessed with them. It doesn't have to be an outward obsession by any means, but it just means that you find it very hard to find fault in a person, and when that isn't reciprocated, then it's black and white thinking, and it goes back to, like, neutral. I'm just going to quickly Google what they actually use that terminology as. Where is it? Yeah, so it comes from a fear of abandonment, but it's also because of that you deal with unstable, intense relationships and you deal with idol worship of other people. And I definitely dealt with that. I would be dating someone and I was like, oh my god, I'm so in love with them. Obviously, it's not love. You're still so young. But I was thoroughly convinced I was in love with people. And then after a few weeks when they broke it off, it was like heartbreaking. Like, it hurt so bad. And I never understood why. And it's because I put everyone on a pedestal thinking that I am a lesser person than everyone. And so there must be something wrong with me, if that makes any sense at all. And that was like a recurring theme. Like, I would be in so many short-term relationships, on and off, all the time. And then when I was 17, I had the most whirlwind, fucked up, crazy relationship of my entire life. I say that I'm only 27, but you understand what I mean. So I dated a family friend that I'd known for years before that point, and I assumed it would be very easy, but it wasn't. This person became very distant and cold and would then break up with me and then come back and would be together for a bit and then break up again. This went on for like 4 years, and so it's hard because I didn't have the black and white thinking so much at that time with this person, because I always knew they were going to come back and I always knew they were going to leave again, but I didn't know when that cycle was going to end. So it was very confusing. So then eventually when it did end, it took me probably 2 years to get over it all. Like, because I really didn't know if they were going to come back again or what that was going to look like, because this relationship was just so messy. It was a lot of lying about where people were. Not me, obviously, the other person. But they would be like, oh, I'm gonna go here and I'll see you soon. And then it would be like 2 weeks later and I wouldn't have heard from them. So I think that also comes with the idol worship problem, because I wasn't sure if this person was alive or not, because they would hide themselves with the help of like their family and friends. Like, I would ask people, oh, have you seen this person, heard from them? I'm worried about them. And they'd go, no, I haven't. But I knew that they were hanging out with them, because it would later come out that they just didn't want to be around me, but were too afraid to say it. So there's that. But after that relationship, I was just like so confused and broken and felt worthless that I was just like, maybe if I just get with anyone and everyone, someone will have to love me, because that's how the odds of this work, right? Like, if I cast a net, I'm sure to catch something. And that was almost just as painful, because you can't make someone love you no matter what you do. It doesn't matter how nice you are or what you can give someone. If they don't love you, they don't love you. And there's nothing you can do about it. And that was a pretty hard lesson to learn as well. So I was in a lot of pain from all of that, and I was feeling so lost. And then I kind of met someone that went through a similar experience to me, but in a different way. So my boyfriend and I have been together for 4 years, and we met because we went to the same school, but we didn't know that we both lived like 1 kilometer away from each other our entire lives. And we should have run into each other hundreds of times, but we didn't. But one day he just decided to message me. He was like, hi, we met once in high school. And then we chatted, and it's been like that ever since. So it's just funny because I know this is like a common thing now, but once you stop looking, you will find someone. It's because your desperation is leaking out of you. Like, everyone can sense it. And people don't want to be with someone that's desperate because they're not going to feel like your intentions are real. They're just, it is kind of predatory in a way because you're just looking for anyone to show you love and affection instead of them. You know what I mean? So I wish I could have told my younger self that, to just like hold it in there. It's going to be okay, because that would have saved me a lot of heartache. But to be fair, I don't think I would have listened to me, because children don't listen to adults most of the time. But it's just funny, the difference between like dating when you're younger and an adult. Like, with my previous relationship, it would always be like, oh, we're going to save up to move out, yeah. And then he would just buy like drugs and alcohol and stuff and leave me alone forever. But being an adult in a relationship is like really cool because you can do whatever you want and do it with someone, and it's awesome. So, and it's also cool because you have someone to do like hard things together. Like, you get to, well, I guess that is right. You get to go through hard things together. You have a support system. So, just after a year of being together, my childhood dog had cancer and died, and he was with me when we put it down. And then that same thing happened with... What happened first? I'm trying to think. It was either my other childhood dog died last year, or his grandpa died, but one of those two things happened first. And you go through all those hard things together, and you have someone to actually be there with you, not just have, like, someone to vent to, you know? You actually have someone to listen to. And that's super helpful, because you also have someone that can be, even though they love you, they can be objective and tell you the truth about things. Hopefully that is if you're in a good relationship. So, yeah, there's that. But also, so, full disclosure, we don't want children. I will never have children. But getting a dog together, we did that 1 year into our relationship, and that is kind of like raising a child together. And I know people who have kids are going to be so annoyed that I said that, but it's kind of the same, obviously probably not as hard, but it's pretty similar, because you're doing it together, and it feels like your kid, so it's basically the same thing. And then we did the very adult thing of moving out together, and all the stressful things were stressful, but we didn't feel like stressed out by each other, you know? Which is really good, because a lot of people are like, oh, you're gonna hate each other and fight, but we're not people that like to fight. So that's good. There's one thing I wanted to Google. There is there's a famous article. I think it's an article. Or is it an experiment? I'm trying to find what I'm talking about here. But it's 36 questions that may lead to love. I'm not gonna go through all of them, because some of them are pretty damn dark and deep. I don't even think it has. Oh no, it does have all the questions there. But these are questions that may lead to love. I don't know if you should ask some of these on a first date. Like, some of them are good, like, if you could choose anyone in the world to be a dinner guest with you, who would it be? Like, that's, like, pretty softball for that. But then, would you like to be famous in what way is actually more interesting than you would think, because there are people who want to be famous for whatever reason and for whatever it takes, but then there's people that's like, I would only like to be famous if it was for the things I'm passionate about or the things that I regularly do. So that's interesting. I'm going to answer some of them, though, as if we're on a date. Before making a phone call, do you ever rehearse what you were going to say? All the time. All the time. I hate phone calls. I want them to be over as soon as possible. Because they're just annoying. If I can't see someone's face when they're talking to me, I don't know if they're annoyed by me or not. Like, they could be really sarcastic and I don't know. Just text me. But if there's ever a phone call, I want to wrap it up as soon as possible. Even though this is kind of like a one-sided phone call. What could constitute a perfect day for you? That's easy. It would be going to the beach and having like a lunch or a dinner that's like pasta and then maybe a concert. But only if it was like MGMT or Lord or someone I really love, not a festival concert. And I would love if it was like if it was perfect, like I had control over everything, I would love it so that you can pick what spot you are in the concert and leave whenever you want, come back whenever you want, and your spot wouldn't be taken. That'd be perfect. When did you last sing to yourself or to someone else? I sing all the time, all day, every day. At the moment, it's just me singing Wicked non-stop. But I am always singing or humming to myself. As a kid, I don't know if anyone did this, but I would want to have dreams about me singing at a contest or in a concert or whatever, and I would practice out loud first so I could know what I sounded like in my dream. That's probably strange. Do you have a secret hunch about how you would die? That's pretty dark. I don't know. For some reason, I think it would be medical malpractice. Like, they would just fuck something up and it would be like, oh, what a shame. My bad. I don't know, I've always thought that I would go under for surgery and they did something wrong, like Grey's Anatomy-esque, but yeah. Name 3 things you and your partner, the person you are dating, appear to have in common. We love animals. We always tell the truth, even when we shouldn't. We love to laugh at dumb shit. This is pretty deep. If you could change anything about the way you were raised, what would it be? I think for me it would just be having my parents teach me more specific skills. Because as an adult, there is plenty that I have to Google that I don't know. And sometimes I'm like, is it because I wasn't willing to learn? But then I think back, I'm like, no, they never told me something. But that's not anyone's fault. I think sometimes parents just assume you know things because they forgot how they were taught, but you know. If you could wake up tomorrow having gained one quality or ability, what would it be? I would like to... This is too open for me. Invisibility. That sounds kind of strange, probably. I am a little sneaky sneak and lurker. I want to know what's going on all the time, so I'll just be sneaking around, seeing what people's lives are up to. What else is it? Jeez, some of these are way too dark. Like, how do you feel about your relationship with your mother? Do not ask that on a first date. For me, though, mine is, like, pretty damn good. I'd say we're not Rory and Lorelai-esque, but we're pretty close and we're pretty similar. Sometimes I feel like some of my traits are just the amplified version with my mum. Like, she has my traits but amplified, and sometimes I find that extremely annoying, and then other times I'm like, if you were just a little bit less, I could understand. That probably doesn't make sense. Like, my mum, she calls herself an empath, and I think she is. She's very empathetic, but almost too empathetic sometimes, and I'm like, she can't help it, I understand that, but it's like, when everything can upset you, sometimes I'm just like, I don't have patience for it. Some of these are... What's that game called, The Button? This is... like, damn. What, if anything, is too serious to be joked about? I don't think anything's too serious to be joked about, but you have to tell the joke and actually make it funny. A lot of people think that the audience is too woke and they don't understand and they're being too sensitive, but it's just your joke wasn't funny. Like, you can make anything funny if you say it the right way and have the right tone about it. And know that there is probably someone listening to the joke that has experienced what you're talking about, so you have to just be aware. But you can make anything funny, and if people have a problem with your joke, it's probably because it wasn't funny. If you had made it funny, there wouldn't be a problem. If you were to die this evening with no opportunity to communicate with anyone, what would you most regret not having told someone? What haven't you told them? Oof. This is deep as well. It's not a regret or anything. But sometimes with my sister, I think there is a gap. We had very different childhoods. And I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but sometimes I feel like I don't know if jealousy or envy is the right term, but sometimes I get the feeling that she feels like I've taken something from her, but that could just be me projecting and seeing too much into it. I don't know. She's not very, my sister is like the most atypical person I've ever met, like the least autistic person you could possibly be, which sounds really weird, but like she is the most confident person I've met that isn't like out there above themselves sort of thing. Like, they're not trying to show off. She could go into any job interview and convince them to give it to her, but without being like in your face about it. Your house containing everything you own catches fire. After saving your loved ones and pets, you have time to safely. You make a final dash to save one. Any one item, what would it be? One item. One singular item. If my dog is okay, I think anything I have is replaceable. But maybe I would either take my phone or my camera. And not because I'm like, oh, those things are so precious. I think it's just like to cover my tracks sort of thing. Like, I need my phone because I might need to call for help or something like that. This one's weird because it says, of all the people in your family, whose death would you find most disturbing? There is barely anyone in my family that is dead, so that's not really a question I can answer. Like, the people that have died before I was born, or even could conceptually know that they were around, so, you know what I mean? This one, see, this one, I'm just going to return you on my partner. It says, share a personal problem and ask your partner's advice on how he or she might handle it. This isn't a problem for me right now, but it's just a constant thing. So my entire teenage to early adulthood, I either didn't have a job or struggled to get a job or was unsettling. And I just always have this fear of going back on it, even though it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, it'd just be incredibly hard. I just always have this fear about it, you know? So that's just something I worry about. So when I have money, I'm always just a little bit worried about it. So this episode, you might have noticed, is a little tiny bit different. Not only is this setup different, I've got headphones on, but for this one, because I've been on Twitch a lot lately, this episode's going to have minimal editing. I'm just going to try and go off the flow with it, because I think this one is probably the best I've done in terms of just constant talking. And I'm pretty happy with it, so hopefully you enjoy this when it comes out. And you check out my Twitch, because I have really been enjoying that too, and I hope you will as well. So thank you so much for watching and listening. I will catch you next time. Bye!